Okay, welcome. What we have going on today is we're going to be doing our layout of our blueprint. So if you missed any of this in class, here's the video to get you caught back up. In our Google Classroom, we're looking for the one that's a hand drawing of the blueprint for our tool tray. Okay, when you open that up, you have a PDF of the measurements and dimensions, and we're going to be laying this out. And what this is going to do is this is going to give us a little bit of ruler practice with our measurements. It's also at the same time going to be getting us ready to lay this out on the sheet metal, which you're going to use to cut out our parts. And so we need to have accurate layout on our paper here, because paper's a lot cheaper. When we can prove that we can do that, then we are going to be doing it on our metal, and we're ready to make our part. So first thing that we want to do here, I'm going to try to zoom here and see if my view cooperates here. All right. We're going to be measuring off everything on our part off of this lower, let me get this out of the way here, off of this lower left-hand corner. This is going to be our point of origin on here. And the reason we're going to use this, we want everything to be accurate and square off of our part. Rather than drawing everything here in the middle of our paper, we're going to have this as our factory edge for my left side of the box and the bottom of the box. Now, we don't know if we're going to use the whole paper yet and go all the way to the other side yet until we do some of the math on here. But in the meantime, we're going to have this as our 0, and then all of our measurements are going to be off of here. So we're going to look at this, and we have to analyze our drawing a little bit to get our measurements and start transferring those onto paper. We're going to look at some of the best way to do that as well. So when I look at this first part, we have a fold that's going to go right here. If we see the little note down here, this means there's a fold, and this is called a hem on our drawing. Okay, this is going to be a rollover when we fold the sides of our box up. So we're a 1/2 inch from the edge of my paper. Now, when I'm on my paper, what I don't want to do is I don't want to go here in the middle and put a 1/2 inch and then just guess and put my ruler like here and draw the line. Obviously, I'm exaggerating, but if I do it like this and just have one point, you can see that there's no guarantee that even though this is a 1/2 inch, that the top or the bottom is going to be a 1/2 inch. So rather, what I want to do, I'm going to line up my ruler here on the bottom. I'm going to put a little tick mark or a little line like this at a 1/2 inch here and a 1/2 inch on the bottom. But when I do that, what I want you to look at, let me get a nice zoom in here. I want you to look at my ruler. Now, these are stamped rulers, okay? So because these numbers are stamped on here, our measurement doesn't actually start until the first line that's on this ruler. This is waist, and if we line this wood up with the edge of our part here, that is going to be actually making all of our measurements to be this far off. And so we don't want to do that. So every time we take a measurement, you're going to line up your very first line here with your starting place in here. So what we want to do is we want to do the first measurement at a 1/2 inch. So just a quick ruler review. Here is a full inch, halfway between the 0. Okay, on my ruler, this is my 0. And here is 1/2 inch. We divide it into quarters. We have 1/4, 2/4, which is a 1/2, 3/4. We divide it into eighths. We have 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8. And the smallest lines are 16. So 1/16, 2/16, 3/16, and so forth. We're going to get more practice as this exercise goes on. So our first measurement is going to be, we're going to put a tick mark right here on our paper at a 1/2 inch towards the bottom. Okay. And then I'm going to slide my ruler up to the top up here. And I'll see if we can get a little better view. I don't need to zoom in as much. It's the same process here. Line it up with the line on the edge at a 1/2 inch. You put a little tick mark. So if you notice, a tick mark is a little different than a dot. Okay. If I put a dot, what happens is that dot gets a little fat. And when I go to line my ruler up, it does two things. It's hard to get a real accurate spot on that dot, And it also doesn't show me directionality of which way my lines are going to be running. But if I put here a little tick mark, which is basically an extension of this line, I can make sure that that lines up perfectly even with my half-inch here. Okay, we'll go like that. And it also shows that my line is going to be running up and down. Okay, so then my ruler, when I go to connect my line, I can line this edge up right on the edge of my ruler and connect my little tick marks, my little dashes, and it will give me a very accurate line. So when I do this, I put my pencil here, get it started, make sure it's going intersecting there and here, hold my ruler down tight on the paper, and then connect those two lines, and it should be passing through my tick marks. Yep, right through the middle. And that gives me an even, accurate half-inch line away from the edge of my paper. Now, if you notice the dot, because that dot is big and fat, it wouldn't have been that accurate, okay? And this was just a quick demo, so that was wrong. So I'm gonna get rid of that. So there's a half-inch off the side. We have this one done. We're gonna do what we do on the left, we're also gonna do on the bottom right now, because these are going to be even. If this has a half-inch hem on this side, this also, if we notice up here on the top, this also has a half-inch hem. Now, we don't have any measurement down here that says half-inch, but what we're going to do is we know it's a half-inch because our drawing is symmetrical, and so we call that typical. That the top and the bottom are going to be the same measurement without having to write it down on our blueprint because it's understood that those are the same. So I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to turn my ruler around. Okay, I'm going to line up on the bottom, my edge down here. Let me zoom in a little bit. Okay, put it up the edge of my paper on the 0, so I can either do it all the way over here and put a little tick mark here at the half, or it can slide over. It doesn't really matter. But what we want to do is we want to have a little bit of separation, and the more separation we can in between our two tick marks, the more accurate it is. If I did my second little tick mark here, okay, let me just do it for sample. Okay, I can connect those like this. I'll connect it this way. But it's hard to tell. Now they look connected. Okay, I'm going through one, I'm going through the other, but my ruler isn't very straight across. Okay, they're too close together for me to make sure that they're straight across. So I'm going to go as far apart as convenient on my paper, line this up with a 0, put a half-inch here. The farther apart, the more accurate they're going to be. Now I can trace from the half-inch here to the half-inch over here. And that's going to give me a very accurate measurement. So just for my notes, so I remember, I'm going to call this a half-inch hem. Okay. And this over here, I'm also going to call a half-inch. And if you notice, my abbreviation for inch is the double quote, and this is a hem. So a hem is the part that we fold over on the metal, or just same thing that would be on like your pants, that fold it over so you get a nice smooth edge. Now, the next thing I want to do is this sidewall for our box. So this is going to get folded up, and it's going to be a 1.5 inch sidewall here, 1.5 inch here, here, and here. It's typical all the way around. But instead of measuring off of this line, another 1.5 inch over, what we want to do is we want to take and always measure off of our factory edge, which we know is perfectly square and straight. And so we're going to take this 1/2 inch plus 1.5 inches here in order to put our next measurement. So what do you have if you have, I'll do the math up here, I guess. Let's try to get this on here. What do I get when I take 1.5, like 1.5 inches, right? And let's see, it was 0.5 for a 1/2 inch, 0.5. I add those together. If that's dollars and cents, $1.50 plus 50 cents that's a 0, that's 10, carry the 1, that's $2, correct? So same thing over here. Sorry, this is messy. So we're going to put a line at, instead of $2, at 2 inches from the edge of my paper. So that would be a 1/2 inch hem plus the 1.5 inches. I'm going to put a tick mark up here at 2, one down here at 2, and connect. Okay. So line my ruler up on the edge at the 0, put a mark at 2, put a mark down here at 2, connect. This part I'm going to go a little bit faster since we already did the math. If I do that on the left, okay, I'm going to call this a 1.5 inch side. If I do that on the left, I'm also going to do it from the bottom. Okay, so from here to here, just for my notes, we said that this is 2 inches with my hem inside. So from the bottom, I'm also going to go 2 inches. Now I can set my ruler and kind of do this the other way if I want. I could put my 2 inches at the edge and put a little tick mark at my 0 if you want, because that's how my ruler fits on my desk a little better. Or I can do it the other way, it doesn't matter. 0 from here up to 2 inches. Space those apart. I'm going to connect my dots left to right. And that is going to give us the bottom sidewall. Now, the reason we can't do that off the edge on this side and this side is we don't know if this is going to go all the way to the edge. So now what we have to do is we have to do the math. How big is this rectangle that's going to represent the bottom of our box? This here is going to be the bottom of my box. On your paper, please also put your name on here so that when they get turned in, I know who you are. I'll put the hour that you're in. So if you're in 4th or 5th hour, whatever hour, put that on your paper as well. And then we have to look at this and analyze our drawing a little bit. So if we look at the distance from this line to here, it is 6.5. So if we go back to our paper, we already have from the edge 2.5, or 2, I'm sorry, we said 2 inches, plus another 6.5. Maybe I'll do it as decimal here, okay, to keep that even. So what do we get when we add up 2 plus 6.5? 2 plus 6 is 8. Right? If I stack it here, we have our 50, or 1/2 inch, and we have 8. So from the edge of my paper, I'm going to be measuring over from here over 8.5. I'm going to do that on the top and on bottom. Okay. Excuse the bells. I'm trying to do this in between my lunch and my prep. So line this up on my 0. Here is 8.5 towards the top. I'm going to slide my ruler down. Same thing. Line my 0 up and put a mark halfway between my 8 and my 9. Here's my 8.5. Okay. Put a little tick mark, and we are going to draw my line going top to bottom for this part of my box. So that gives me the right side of the bottom of my box. What we have to do now is figure out how far from my bottom line here up to the top side of this part of my box. And we have our measurement here. So this measurement across the bottom of my box, or the right side of my box, or the left side, for all of them, it's going to be 3.25 or 3.25. So we know from here to here, just like on the side, this is 2 inches. Okay. From here to here is going to be 3.25 or 3.25. Okay. So we need to add those up. Let's see. What do you get if we go 3.25? Okay. Or 3.25, $3.25, if we think of it in dollars and change, plus $2 equals $5.25, or 5.25. So let's measure from the paper, from the bottom of my paper here, going up. I'm going to line my 0 up, and at 5.25, I'm going to put a line. So let's zoom in on my ruler here. And let's make sure I get the quarter. So this is 5, this is 6, here's 5.5, here's 5 1/4. So this is where my line's going to go, 5 1/4. I do it on the left. I'm going to come over here and do it on the right. Okay, line up my 0 on the bottom. It's off the page, but it's lined up. 5 1/4 is going to be this. Not here's some 5.5. So between there is this line, 5 1/4. Now let's connect my two little dashes from the right and the left. Line this up as best and accurately as I can. Draw my line across, and now we have the bottom of our box. Okay. So from here to here, we said it was 3.5, but from here all the way up to here, we said was 5 1/4 or 5 point. We'll do it as decimals. It's really easy to add. 5 1/4, 5.25. Okay.